Hey, what's up guys? Tyler here with Secureteam. Well, it seems that there is some very strange activity happening on the dwarf planet Ceres. And by strange activity, I'm talking about the fact that scientists have now discovered that the anomalous lights on Ceres that we've done a few videos on, that are still a mystery to this day, are changing. And the brightness of these lights have been seen gleaming very brightly and also dimming unexpectedly. So, if you're not familiar with Ceres, here's some quick background. Ceres is an asteroid. Well, it's the largest object in the asteroid belt that lies between Mars and Jupiter. It's what is known as a dwarf planet. Its diameter is approximately 945 kilometers, making it the largest of the minor planets within the orbit of Neptune. And it is the 33rd largest known body in the solar system, and it is the only one identified orbiting entirely within the orbit of Neptune that is a dwarf planet. It's composed of rock and ice, and Ceres is the only object in the asteroid belt known to be rounded by its own gravity. And Ceres was the first asteroid ever discovered by Giuseppe Piazzi at Palermo on January 1st, 1801. It was originally considered a planet, but was reclassified as an asteroid in the 1850s when many other objects in similar orbits were discovered. And it's also been theorized that Ceres has an internal ocean of liquid water under a layer of ice under its surface. So basically, NASA sent a spacecraft called Dawn, and it went out and orbited around Ceres on March 6, 2015. And pictures were taken, obviously, of the dwarf planet, as they call it, showing its very cratered surface, and then they found these two distinct bright spots inside of a crater. And this completely rocked the scientific, and I guess you could call it the conspiracy theorist community, as to what these bright spots were emanating from. Now, NASA has come out and said, well, it's likely salt grains, or ice. However, if you've seen our past videos on Ceres, it was discovered that these lights glow. And this is now being corroborated by this new evidence that the lights are changing and dimming. We did a recent video on these bright spots, and you can see this high-resolution image of the spots here. And they look very strange. And there are some very mysterious structural anomalies to these spots. They're completely different, the spots. And the spots are completely different from one another. They're both independent of one another, and they both have different structure features. And if you've watched our past Ceres videos, we did a analysis of this image here, showing a close-up of the bright spots, and what looks like is making up the main bright spot, which is in the middle of the crater, which you're seeing here. Looks like a tower of some sort. And we actually got an email from an architect who looked at this image and said that this looks like a miles-high towering structure that is rising high up out of the crater. And there seems to be some evidence to back that up, because when you zoom in on the image and you figure out where the sun is shining from, and in this image you can tell that the sun is shining down onto the crater from the bottom right. So we see the bottom right inside of the crater is in shadow, whereas the left inside rim of the crater is being hit by the sunlight. However, when you look at the bright spot in the center, the part of this towering structure that is in shadow is on the left side of it, which would mean that whatever this structure is, it is raising up off the ground, because you can see the sunlight reflecting off of the entire right side of the structure, whereas the left side, not in view of the sun, is in shadow. And as we said, this object is emitting a beautiful glowing brightness, which is why the back of the object, which is out of the view of the sun, isn't completely black, like you would normally see with the structure. And the shadow is not so pronounced, because once again, the object is glowing. And when you zoom in on this towering structure, you can actually see down at the base, it looks as if there's a large opening underneath this object that is in shadow. So it's sort of giving like an Eiffel Tower effect, whereby you can actually walk under it. And it looks to be almost branching out at the base like tree roots would, digging into the ground. And then when you move to the right and you look at the other bright spot, as they're calling it, it has a completely different structure and features. And some have said that this actually looks like it has some artificial characteristics to it. But again, we'll let you check out videos based on that. The story we are covering today is about the fact that these lights are changing. Oh, and by the way, just a quick note, it was also found out through thermal imaging that both of these lights have very different characteristics. And what was truly strange is that upon inspection of the thermal images from Dawn's infrared spectrometer, the two bright spots named Feature 1 and Feature 5 gave off completely different light, with the first one being suggested that it's colder than the surrounding surface, while the other spot, which appeared as two bright spots in visible light images, disappeared completely. So one of the spots is basically showing that it's very cold, and the other light is showing no distinct thermal behavior. Yet there it is glowing in these images. So basically, we have these bright spots on the surface of Ceres, which, at least from a thermal perspective, seem to behave in different ways. And now, adding another fascinating wrinkle to this story, we can now confirm that these bright spots are changing. And that's according to Paulo Malero of the INAF, Triste Astronomical Observatory, who spent several nights last summer measuring the light bouncing off of Ceres' brightest spots, located in the infamous Akator crater. And what he found is rather amazing. The spots are brightening and fading over the course of the day, like a light bulb on a dimmer switch. The observation, detailed in the monthly notices of the Royal Astronomical Society, corroborates prior observations of transient haze over the crater. What's more, it's sure to stoke excitement about the geological activities on Ceres. And, I'm sure NASA will come up with another cover story to explain it away, as they always do. And it's always something extremely boring and ends up always being a complete anticlimax. So, what we do know is that these objects are glowing, and now we know the lights are changing in their brightness. We know that one of the structures is colder than the surface, while the other light seems to have no thermal detection at all. And then we have the fact that the main bright spot seems to be towering miles above the surface, as you saw earlier when we analyzed the sun's position on the object. So, definitely interesting. I think that there are a lot of unknowns and mystery around Ceres and many other bodies in the solar system. So I'll leave it up to you guys to continue the research. Let us know if you guys find anything. Oh, and one other thing I forgot to mention is we also found what looks like a large triangular craft sitting in a crater on Ceres, which we posted a video about, and we've mentioned in a few other videos, which you're seeing an image of here. So, with it being the largest body in the asteroid belt, I wouldn't put it past another race of beings to possibly be using it as a jump-off point, as they seem to be doing with Mars and possibly Titan and Europa. So, let us know what you guys think down in the comments. Be sure to share, like, and subscribe on your way out. Contact us, follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and as always, stick around because we've got a lot more coming. Stay safe, guys.